I enjoy being a contrarian because I think it's important when everybody starts saying the same thing, and I have an opinion that might be different. I think it's important and valuable to get that idea out there. And I gotta say that one story that I don't see anybody hypothesizing anywhere is the idea that at the end of June, Bitcoin bottomed when it hit 5,800 for the third time. You don't hear anybody saying maybe now Bitcoin bottomed. That makes me think that it's more likely than I would have thought otherwise. Especially since, August, I think it was like August 8th or 9th, or maybe bottomed around, I think it was August 14th, where the shitcoin massacre the shitcoins got killed and Ethereum came down with it. And that really changed sentiment, not only for a lot of people in the shitcoin world, but Bitcoin itself. I have seen, I follow, a lot of long-term Bitcoin holders, Bitcoin maximalists, follow them on Twitter. And their tune, so many of them, their tune switched from, everyone's, we hold Bitcoin, we believe in the long term, but the story's been, by the end of 2018, we're going to be approaching the old highs. All of a sudden now, everybody's saying, oh, this thing's going to go on for another year. It's going to go to either it's going to go to 3,000 or, forget about a rally in 2018. Everybody's thrown in the towel on it. Now, first of all, I'm not trying to predict prices per se. I don't invest based on that. If you're trying to get in, you dollar cost average in. All I know is, in December it was not a good time to buy, and I knew it then, and I said it then on videos. And I'll say the same thing, that right now, if you're dollar cost averaging in, this is what you want the chart to look like. Doesn't mean it won't go lower. Doesn't mean everybody's saying it's going to 3,000 isn't going to happen. But for me, a number of indicators popped up that tells me June may have seen the low in Bitcoin. Okay, I'll tell you, here's some of my indicators. The first one, and I am so lucky to have access to this indicator, and that is my mother calling me. In December, oh, David, I've got to buy Bitcoin, I need to buy Bitcoin, da, da, da. And so now I'm getting the phone calls. She's worried. Am I okay? Oh my God, it looks like it's going to zero. So the mom indicator is flashing red. And general friends and family. Someone on the street stopped me the other day. Hey, how's it? Are you okay? People are worried I'm okay. Are you okay? Okay. I bought Bitcoin at $350. Don't worry about me. Thank you. But all of a sudden, it's sort of when the market reaches a point, like in November, people were taking the time to pick up the phone and call me, right? And I'm not getting as many calls as I did in December per se, but people are making that effort to sort of talk about it and be worried about it, whereas before they wanted to talk about it and be excited about it. So that's another indicator that we've reached a low. Another point that I think is interesting is that, the emotional feeling in this turn of Bitcoin is going to go lower happened when Bitcoin is not at lows, right? I mean, so Bitcoin has hit 5,800 three times. Now, if you look at the charts, you don't see the 5,800 three times because the first time when it hit it in February, it hit it for like 30 minutes and it sort of gets rounded out when you look at the long-term chart. And then when it hit it again in April, it was like 2 days, so a lot of it gets rounded out. But that was the low. And so in April, the mid-August fall, which I think is the shitcoin massacre, Bitcoin it went below 6,000 for about 10 minutes. Like, it didn't even hit the 5,800. So this turn in sentiment happened when Bitcoin isn't even hitting lows. So that also, it gives me optimism. And to be honest with you, my prediction, here's another indicator, is what I said in January, is I thought the downturn would last about 6 months. So if the low was at the end of June, that makes me right. So I'm hoping as well, just so that I can say that I'm, good at predicting. I sort of predicted in January that the low would be in June, so that also makes me hopeful. And to be quite frank, I also thought that the low would have been lower. I thought we would have seen a day hitting 3,000. I thought we would have spent a lot more time in the 5,000. The amount of time Bitcoin has spent below 6,000 has been very little. So it's actually performed better than I expected. Another point that, now a lot of the Bitcoin big holders and the Bitcoin maximalists are saying, each downturn, the new story too is each downturn is longer than the next. When I did analysis, I didn't necessarily see that, and I don't know, but to me, that sort of stuff is the chart, trying to read things out of charts. What I know is that in 2014, when Bitcoin crashed, the ecosystem itself was in trouble. Right? The biggest exchange, 80% collapsed, criminals, industry leaders going to jail. Now we have Lightning Network launching, New York Stock Exchange is about to start buying, the ecosystem looks healthy. That makes me think that this downturn will not be as long. Now, who knows, but again, I'm not ready to throw in the towel on this Bitcoin. Like I said, my prediction of being the downturn is only 6 months. And I'm not wrong yet. Another thing, and one of the reasons for the recent pessimism in Bitcoin is, the ETFs aren't coming through. This whole ETF thing to me is silly. If you want exposure to Bitcoin, just go buy it. You don't need a vehicle. Just go fucking buy it. And then you actually own it if you take it off Coinbase and you hold your keys instead of in some fund and they hold it and they loan it to someone, or you're owning futures against someone all this monkey business. That's not what Bitcoin's about. I wouldn't be surprised if the ETFs don't even do that well, because people who believe in Bitcoin believe in it because they know what it is, and they don't want to own some stupid Wall Street product that's pretending they own something they don't. So I don't know. I'm not excited about the ETFs anyways. I get, and I understand the story that, I have money in my brokerage or in my IRA, and now it's easy for me to buy it, and there's a lot of money, and so it probably would help the price. I get it, but my bullishness on Bitcoin, long run, short run, is not based on ETFs. It never was. So I don't view that as a big negative. And the next is New York Stock Exchange. That was a bit of a surprise announcement when we got that about a month ago. And there's been a lot of talk of they're going to financialize, they're going to not, they're going to say, you own Bitcoin, but they're not going to hold it. They're going to have fractional reserve Bitcoin or something. People are afraid, and yeah, we'll see. But to me, if you boil it down, what do we know? I think, we don't know a lot, but I think it looks like, if nothing else, New York Stock Exchange and or their large clients will be buying some Bitcoin. So that's good. The other thing is, the history of fractional reserve banking is that what happens is first they establish trust. And then, when nobody's looking, they take away your trust. And these things play out over decades. So everyone's fears of the New York Stock Exchange, my guess is when they launch, they're going to say, if you buy your Bitcoin, you own your Bitcoin, you have your Bitcoin, it's right here, we're not doing fractional reserve, don't worry about it, everyone looks at it, they check it out, everything's fine, and then if they get a bunch of customers and 5 years later no one's paying attention and they start sneaking, stealing from behind everyone's back. That's usually how it happens. And sometimes they don't steal for 10 or 20 years because management, the people who started it, really believe in holding it, and then, the personnel changes and the culture changes, and then all of a sudden someone steals a little, no one notices, and they're all happy. That's usually how it goes. So my guess is New York Stock Exchange starts out looking very legitimate. So I find that bullish. We'll see when they announce and the CFT has to, that's not a done deal yet, but at this point, I have no reason not to be very optimistic. Another change in sentiment I saw too, before mid-August, it was always, okay, Bitcoin is the king. This is with sort of the conservative long-term investors. Bitcoin is king, and Ethereum is sort of the second choice, kind of safe. All of a sudden, Ethereum got lumped in with shit coins. Ethereum should be in, should go to $10, or under 100, and like the Ethereum got thrown into shitcoin category, sort of all of a sudden. And I think that, I don't agree with that at all. That's a topic for another video I'll get to, because I really want to talk to the Bitcoin maximalists, because although I believe that Bitcoin as money, as a reserve currency, there is no competitor, but Ethereum's in a whole nother world, and to say that they'll have no value, I think is, that's another video, but anyways. And yeah, and so the bottom line is this. Don't try to do price predictions. I didn't want to make this video because, whenever you make price predictions, it's just, it's very hard to ever be right. And what do we do? I'm just predicting. It's just guesswork. And you should never invest based on that. The bottom line is, if you are accumulating Bitcoin, if you want Bitcoin to be a higher percent of your portfolio than it is now, you want to look at the chart and you want it to look like it looks now. Now is the time to buy. Does that mean, and I've said this before, when I got into Bitcoin 2014, I bought a little, it was at 500. It went down to 400, I bought a little more. Went to 300, I bought a little more. Went to 200, bought a little more. It went below 200 and I said, what the hell? I'm not buying anymore. But I held, and then I waited 8 months. That's how it goes. Similar story when I got into Stellar. 4 cents, 3 cents, 2 cents, 1 cent. And then all of a sudden. But this is when you want to buy. I knew in December, and I said this is not a good time to buy, right? And just as I'll say right now, it's a decent time to buy now. And if next week it goes to 3,000, I'm an idiot. And maybe I'll have to unlist this video because I'm embarrassed. But actually, and I don't want to say, I only unlist things when I change my mind. What I'm saying to do is true, and I'm just sort of afraid. I hate making predictions. Bottom line is, I'm sticking with my prediction that the downturn in Bitcoin would only be 6 months, and as of now, I'm still right. And as of now, the low was in June, and hey, don't count me out yet. And all you other long-term Bitcoin holders are thrown in the towel and said, oh, the downturn's going to be another year. We'll see. We will see.